Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight here. Another live edition. We're still feels like Tuesday to me. You know, not Tuesday till you go to sleep, not Wednesday till you go to sleep, but it's Tuesday, technically Wednesday now. 21st into the 22nd of June 2011. Glad you could join us here tonight, and we will be, as usual, getting into some news tonight. Now you guys have probably noticed, I think the shows have been running right at about 2 hours lately, but somewhere in there, sometimes an hour 45, depends on how much material there is and whatnot. But I was looking at that, I was going, you know what? I was doing the math on that. It's unbelievable. When I was doing a 4-hour show, I was doing 4 hours Monday through Friday, and then 2 hours on Saturday night. God damn, that was a maniac. But I wouldn't be where I am now had I not done that. But you know, I was looking at it. You know, I was only really getting like 2 hours of real airtime. You know, between commercials and bumpers and music and all the rest of the stuff. It's like, you know, where you're still getting the same amount of show that you are now as you were when I was doing 4-hour shows. So that's, you know, that's pretty awesome. But you know, for a long time, some people have always said, "Hey, can you?" Because I always start the show at a different time. So people for a long time have said, can you like give us a signal? Can you, can you do something to let us know when the show's going to be live? And so Manhadra and I, our web guru, we've tried to come up with several different things. We try to come up with some way to maybe put something on the website, but can't really ever find anything that works. So for what I've been doing, I guess over the past couple of weeks, you may or may have not, may have noticed this. I don't know. But just to give you the heads up, I was trying to find a song that was about 5 minutes long, so I want to give you like the 5-minute warning, you know. Like 5 minutes is a good time. All right, show starting in 5 minutes, be ready, whatever. And so I think the perfect 5-minute song, a song that pumps me up and gets me, you know, fired up and ready to rock to do a show every time is, of course, Hangar 18 by Megadeth. So from now on, that will be the permanent 5-minute warning song. When you hear, I mean, we may be listening to fucking, you know, Willie Nelson or something. Or, you know, who knows what, Not a Surf, or, you know, I like all kinds of music. So sometimes you'll hear metal, sometimes you'll hear country, sometimes you'll hear indie rock, you know, pop stuff. I like it all. But Hangar 18 is the official starting show song that we're going to be firing up every night here before we get going. So there you go. From now on, whenever you hear Hangar 18, on the thing, and in case you don't know that song, anytime you hear this, that means that there is a live show imminent right around the corner. So there you go. There's your 5-minute warning song, and that's what it will be every time. So from now on, whenever you hear that, that's what you know the show's coming. So I hope that helps, because people are like, how how do we know when a show's going to start? You know, you start them at different times. Well, from now on, when you hear the double kick drums and the, synchronous guitar solos and Dave melting your face, then there you go. You know what's going on. But glad you could be with us here tonight. Love to have your emails as well. Getting some, had a couple of emails here tonight. Our friend that does the anagrams has sent some stuff in pertaining to the Lost Book of Inky. So I'll read you some of the stuff that she has sent me over here tonight. So thanks to her. You know who you are. Global Reality Show at gmail.com. That's Global Reality Show at gmail.com. If you want to send in any of your emails over there, that's where we'd love to have them at. And I'll read them on air if you want me to. I'll read them on air. If you don't want me to, just please specify in there. If you don't want me to read them on air, just let me know. And I will not read them on air. But most of the time, people don't mind. And it is enjoyable for me. I like when people have questions. I like when people bring stuff up. It's, it's really fun. And we have a lot of fun here on the show. And thanks to everybody out there who has sent in emails. I've got a few here tonight. We'll get into those as well. My website where this broadcast originates from is www.theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. And I will be happy. I'm sorry, I'm thrown off here. So I was looking at the chat room. What if there's a premature Hangar 18 played beforehand? What's that mean? Premature? Well, you won't hear Hangar 18 unless there's show time. How about that? You won't hear it unless it's unless the show's about to start. Then there won't be a premature. You're talking like a premature Hangar 18 ejaculation or something? What's going on here? The chat room's out of control. But anyway, speaking of my website, www.theglobalreality.com, the chat room is there, and you can go and listen to the show and be distracted by these motherfuckers in the goddamn chat room. Just kidding, guys. Like me, I'm supposed to look at that fucking thing. I always do. It's the temptress, the evil temptress of my life. The chat room. Try to leave that bitch behind. Try to go, well, it just draws you back in. Oh, you can't get away. It's addicting. We have many recovering chataholics, I have to say. But so thanks to everybody in the chat room, Global Reality chat room tonight, hanging out and having a good time and enjoying all the
pre-show metal
that we had to play here tonight. Yeah, that's always good stuff. Man, oh man, oh man! I was talking about the news earlier, and I'm really glad that I've been able. And I was talking about the lengths of the shows. The reason the shows have kind of been the length that they have been lately has been because I used to. I don't know. I used to when I would look at the news and I would do my news gathering every day to prepare for the show. I used to always approach it in a much different way than I've been approaching it recently. I've kind of changed the way that I'm approaching looking at the news, and not really looking at the news, but that hasn't changed. But the way I'm bringing it to air, you see, for a couple of reasons. Number one, one reason is because I got lots of emails from people saying that I'm complaining that I was covering too much news and stuff like that. So, if I think that you're in the right, then, I will definitely do my best to remedy that. And I think that the people that said that and sent me emails about that, were right in that. I think that they were correct in that. So I've done my best, but really what I've done is not really, I've really cut down on the amount of news. I guess I have cut down on the amount of news I cover. What I'm doing is I'm being more selective about what I bring to air. Does that make sense? Because there's always plenty of news to talk about, but some of this stuff anymore, I think what it is more and more my ability to care about. It just seems that the issues that are presented to us in the news, the unimportance of them seems to be increasing as the day goes by. You know what I mean? Sex scandals and all this shit. I mean, that's not news. Paris Hilton is now single. That's news, whatever. Gene Simmons and his, fucking anything that moves, and that's news. I don't know. What I mean is that, I see things that are in the news now, and yeah, my stack of what I bring to air every day on the show seems to get smaller. But I think that's good because, then we've got, okay, this is the meat and potatoes. Who gives a fuck what political candidate said what about who or, whatever else. I mean, all this shit. You can tell we're ramping up into campaign season again because we're starting to see that bullshit media, he said, she said bullshit all out in the media already. They're already firing it up. And I just, I'm not going to cover shit like that. I'm not going to cover, what's going on with Newt Gingrich's campaign. I don't give a fuck what's going on with his campaign either way. He's another one of these, actors that's put out there to play the role of politician who has zero power. No, people like these guys have zero power. They're actors. They're well-paid actors. And in order for an actor to play their role correctly, they have to be very educated about the role they're playing and what they're doing. That's what they are. This stuff, I always point out, Council for National Policy member Jack Abramoff. Where did this guy start out at before he, sets up the blueprint for lobbying in Washington, D.C.? What's he doing? Oh, he's coincidentally the Jew. Is a Hollywood producer, making these red commie propaganda films like Red Scorpion with Dolph Lundgren. I mean, you think it's a coincidence this guy winds up in the major power center of the right wing in Washington, D.C.? Not a chance in hell. Hell no, it's not a coincidence. Not one bit. Going back to what I was talking about with the news, I really, every day the importance of these things, you just see a diminishing interest and importance in it because you realize, again, these guys are actors, it's all stage theater. Meanwhile, the machinery and the real power is chugging along unimpeded because everybody's trying to pin the tail on the invisible donkey. And it's an illusionary donkey. Everybody thinks it's over here and they're trying to pin the tail and nobody has the right tail. They don't even have the right goddamn donkey. It's this, and everybody's grasping at straws, blaming everything else. And meanwhile, it just continues on because, they just blame the puppets. They blame the Bushes. They blame the Obamas. They blame the Nixons. And these guys have no power. Again, they are the puppets. Or the puppet masters that sit at the highest levels of everything, higher than individual countries and governments and all this. The world power structure was set up a long time ago, and it's changed names and its participants have changed, but it's all been the same thing, and that is to keep the information about what happened in times of the past, even going back to, as we've been talking about recently, pre-human civilizations. But this knowledge seems, from what I can tell, to have a profound effect on whether or not mankind destroys itself or doesn't destroy itself, essentially. And the way it's looking and the way that they want it to go is that we are going to destroy ourselves, with the exception of a few who will rise back up and set up their new game and run it all over again. But the information is there, lying in our past, waiting for us to uncover it, waiting for us to find it, so that we can wake up the sleeping masses and tell them that we don't have to go down that road again. No, that to me, that's the fight. That's where it's at. That's where our job is. That's what it is now. But yet they have people, these really well-meaning people, a lot of them who in many ways are awake to all kinds of this type of information, but you get them up to a certain point, they won't go past that because that paradigm will only let them go so far and what they will allow themselves to believe about this stuff. And so that right there tells you that everything that we've talked about the CMP and Alex Jones and all these Jesuits and the Knights of Malta and all this stuff and all these this whole controlled gatekeeper paradigm, it just brings that right back into the fold, see? But to me, that's where the fight is. That's what our mission is. That's what we have to do now. We've got to find a way to get this information, the information of the past, into the hands of people now. We have to show to people that this is all a part of a big, huge, long-time master plan that's been playing out since the dawn of time. And this is what they have been counting on. This is what the dumbing down and the retarded culture that they shove down our throats and all of this has been to get us our thinking to be so close-minded and so limited that when this real grand scoping, mind-blowing truth is presented to us, we wouldn't in our right minds believe it. Why? Because it in no way, shape, or form fits into the current paradigm that we will allow ourselves to believe. It has limitations to it. That's what programming is. That's what programming does. That's what TV does. That's what media does. That's what school does. That's what jobs do. That's what all these people inside the power structure do. It's all designed to keep your thinking and what you believe is possible very limited. Science is set up to do that. Religion is set up to do that. Everything's set up to do that. And it's set up so when you start to uncover the real truth of this, most people will, even if they're really open-minded, if they are open-minded in many cases, there are people who know everything there is to know about 9/11 and know everything there is to know about Freemasons and everything there is to know about FEMA and whatever have you, but they too have limitations. They'll come and say, I would never believe that. I'll believe this over here. I'll believe every, 100,000 other conspiracy theories, but I won't believe that conspiracy theory because that's too much of a conspiracy. That's just implausible. There's no way. That's where they get you. That's where they get you right there. That's impossible. As soon as you say that's impossible, they could never do that, they've got you. Boom, right where they want you. Their plan worked. You fell right into their gatekeeping trap that Alex Jones and the CMP and the rest of their lot have set for you. And don't feel bad. I did too. But I've been free and clear of that paradigm for the past 4 years, and I got to tell you, once you come out of it, then you don't want to do anything else but make it your mission to try and show people. I mean, this is where the fight is. They are giving us this false reality in wrapping it up in this sort of this this dressing and this nice bow. They're putting it, they're kind of putting perfume on the pig and making it look as if it's, new underground thinking, I mean, this is underground hidden stuff. See, this is blah, blah, blah. And so it has this sort of allure of mystery to it, but what they don't tell you is that there's people hear that stuff, they hear the Southern Alex Jones talks about, and they get their minds blown. And so to think that it's even beyond what he tells you, they're already fucking mind. Most people can't even handle that. Most people hear the shit that Alex Jones says that's true, and in fact he does actually say a lot of stuff that is true. They have to. I mean, he wouldn't be where he is if he didn't. That's a fact that majority of it, but it's not what he says, it's what he doesn't say. And it's also the slant that he puts on it, the fear-mongering and the energy behind it and everything else. Very neuro-linguistic programming, very mesmeric, very, very just mesmerizing. But, the whole trick of it is that people see that, and that right there, even the stuff that Alex Jones talks about, that blows their mind. They don't even go past that. A lot of people see it and they just, there's no way that's true. So when you find out, as I have now in my 20 years of research, that it's light years. What this stuff really is at the very top of it, once you're trying to wrap your mind around it, it's so difficult. And you can feel your brain expanding, man, when you really dig deep into this. I mean, you can, because it challenges all of the existing walls and all the existing barriers and everything else in your mind that, whether you're consciously aware of them or not, are also subconsciously there, because things have been subconsciously programmed into us all, no matter how much we've cut ourselves off from media or television or anything else. None of us are immune to it. We've all, if we watch a movie, if we watch something on the internet, I mean, we're all susceptible to this stuff, and we all have been our whole lives. And so sometimes those things sort of, those walls and those barriers that subconsciously get built in there become an obstacle that you have to get over, and you don't even know that you're having to get over. It's unbelievable. The Alex Jones, I can say beyond any shadow of a doubt that the Alex Jones paradigm and following him and going just, full-blown InfoWars and being behind all that, I'm telling you, it's mind control. It's brainwashing. It absolutely is. And the reason I can say that is because it happened to me. It happened to me. I don't know if I've talked about this, but I don't know if I've ever really described it to you, because I guess I've still just been kind of recovering from it. Because I listened to the guy for, I don't know, 3 or 4, 5 years, or I don't know how long I listened to him, but it was about 2 years, I guess. 2004, 2005 to like 2007, maybe longer than that, 3 or 4 or 5 years, I can't remember. But I was totally brainwashed by it, totally brainwashed. And you only really realize that when you've come out of it. And you go, oh my God, I was really fucking brainwashed by this guy, But and it's not hard to be, because you can go and look up the majority of the stuff that he talks about, and it's, it's all verifiable, But after a while, I got, because like I said, I was going full bore, And I think, from what Lee Rogers told me, he kind of said that was kind of the same way he was, he was kind of going full bore into it, So that's why he started a show and did public access stuff in New Hampshire, That's why I made a film. Because I was wanting to get going on it. But, if you really want it bad enough, and I wanted it and still want it real fucking bad, it's never diminished for me. The truth is still out there. Truth, I'm still searching for it, and I won't stop. I haven't found it all yet, believe me, my God. 20 years of research isn't shit. But, because I was going full bore into it, I was really, really dedicating myself to learning as much as I could and researching everything I could. Oh my God, just every day. That was all I would do. Hours and hours and hours and hours. Didn't want to do anything else. I had no interest in doing anything else at all. And that was good. And where that led me to, starting my own show. And, show 1, I'm an Alex Jones, I'm a card-carrying Alex Jones fan. Show 3, Peter Dale Scott comes on the show, tells me about this group, the Council for National Policy, tells me they're more secretive, more powerful than the Bilderberg Group and CFR. I start doing some digging. I start finding out that, oh my God, all these people that Alex Jones praises that have been on his show, all these people in the Patriot Movement, True Movement, they're all connected to this. I knew immediately that I was onto something. Immediately. My gut told me. Immediately. Before I even had 0.5% of the info I have about the CMP now. But just something from the very beginning, the first person I went to with it, that I felt I could trust and wouldn't tell me I was out of my mind was Mike Chambers. And I took to Mike Chambers and said, Mike, will you look at this? When I had Peter Dale Scott on the show the other day, because Mike was running the board and stuff back then when I was on TruthNet Radio. And Mike took a look at it. And Mike and I never said this on air. We never really talked about it much after that, except, years later, I guess, after we were on Oracle and stuff. But I remember Mike specifically said to me, and Mike was a huge Ron Paul fan, big Ron Paul supporter. I was too at that time. And I never heard Mike say anything negative about Ron Paul, even insinuate anything about it. Mike said, Josh, if this is what I think it is, and it is what you think it is, this could really bring about some questions about Ron Paul too. And I said, yeah, I'm already starting to see those, and Mike brought me on immediately onto his show. He immediately, within a day, 2 days of me finding it, immediately brought me on the Midnight Rider. I still have that show. I've played it here on the network before. But he brought me up immediately and was like, we got to talk about this. And what was funny about it is, and I didn't really think, it didn't really at the time even dawn on me. I was listening to that show recently, actually. I'd only been on the air a week. It was the following week, the second week I was doing my show, and Mike was doing his Midnight Rider show on Republic Broadcasting Network. And he brought me on that Monday night. And I shit you not, I didn't really think about this until recently, and now it seems odd to me. It didn't at the time. Because I guess I didn't know as much and things of that nature. But I'll be damned if the night that Mike had me on, I ended up going on the show. But we didn't get to talk about the Council for National Policy like we were supposed to do, like 2 hours, CMP, all the stuff that I just found, first show we were doing and rolling out this info on RBN of all places. and now I'm thinking about it, it does seem odd, and I'd forgotten about this, so I was listening to the playback of this show, and I'll be damned if I remember, oh my God, we only got to talk about the CMP stuff maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes, because right when we started the broadcast, Ed and Elaine Brown, if you're not familiar with Ed and Elaine Brown, many of you probably are, but Ed and Elaine Brown were the two people in New Hampshire that they had the standoff for not paying taxes, and Ed Brown went on TV screaming about Freemasons and Jesuits and all this shit. The whole thing always stunk to high heaven to me. I got to tell you, the whole thing smelled like an op. But lo and behold, they busted in and arrested them and took them to prison. And that happened on that show when Mike and I were supposed to talk about the CMP stuff. But then the show, because that was happening live, Mike really had no choice. It was hot breaking news. Anybody would have done it. Mike had to switch his broadcast to being exclusively about the Ed and Elaine Brown situation. And people were calling in talking about that. So the whole show got derailed. And I don't even know if we got to talk about the CMP at all. And then we didn't end up, I don't think we ended up, there was huge listenership that night. I think we ended up doing it later, and there wasn't very many listeners after the fact. But up to that point, there was a whole bunch before the show started. So, oh man, I tell you what, now I'm looking at that going, that could have very well been, they launched that operation because we were doing that show. They knew we were about to bring out that info. But my point is that, as I'm saying, that whole paradigm of Alex Jones, it very much is a brainwashing sort of paradigm, and I was in it, and boy, it's strong, and that's what people need to understand. They need to understand that that's there. People are putting that there to under the guise of, oh, this is enlightening, this is awakening, this is hot underground info. This is what the hipster kids need to know. This is the New World Order, blah, blah, blah. But, when you really start to research this stuff, folks, and you really find out what the implications of this are, again, it's, that's why they've been programming us. That's why they've been keeping us dumbed down, so that when we do find the truth, we just think it was hogwash, not possible. What was it J. Edgar Hoover said? The individual is handicapped by coming face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous he dare not believe that it exists. Right. That's J. Edgar Hoover, man. Scottish Rite Freemason. There he is. Could have said it better myself there. You cross-dressing freak. That is absolutely true. He did like to wear women's clothes. He was a cross-dresser. But the individual is handicapped by coming face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous he dare not believe it exists. That is he is very telling in that statement. Very telling. He pretty much laid it all out for you right there with that statement. Because as you dig deeper and deeper, and you actually do take the time to do your own research, which not many people do, I think most people are scared to do that. Because I tell you what, when you do your own research, man, it's always worse than what I'm telling you or anybody else out there is telling you, for sure. At least that's been my experience, dude. It's wild stuff, man. And that's what they're counting on. They're counting on that you even if you come across the truth, you wouldn't believe it was true. Hell, it's staring us in the face every day in everything we do everywhere. Well, what's the best place to hide something? Right out in the open. And that's what they've done with the symbols, with their, with mathematics and sacred geometry, and it's there in album covers from records and bands, and it's there in movies, it's there in commercials, it's on the buildings, it's on the money, it's on your credit cards, it's on your check that you get from your job, it's on everything. That's how they've built their power structure, is by creating something so powerful that through its power and grandeur, you don't even notice it's really there. It just is, and it's powerful, and it controls things, and it affects and manipulates people's emotions. But I really do have a new outlook on what I think defines what we're trying to do. Or at least what we all should be trying to do. And I think what we all should be trying to do, not in a group or the global reality listeners or anything, but the whole planet, every single human being, real human being on planet Earth right now today. I don't care what country you live in. I don't care what language you speak. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I don't care anything about that. What we should all be doing is figuring out how we get the real truth of our past in the hands of people today so that we can save humanity in the future. Let me say that for you one more time. We need to find out those things that have been hidden from us from our past, right now, today, in the present, so that we can save mankind for the future. I don't know any better way to say it than that for you, folks. But that's what it is. The information they're hiding from us is detrimental to us being able to figure out where we've been going wrong and create a world to live in that isn't perpetual suicide. And we know who's got it. We know where this stuff is. It's, Vatican Library, the other stuff's kind of up in, we've got Beinecke Archive at Yale. We've got stuff up in Scotland, where the Templars fled, up there at, what's the name of that cathedral up there? I mean, it's all over the place. We've got Egypt, we've got Yemen, we've got Iraq, Mesopotamia, all the stuff that's been taken, stolen there from our special forces and other people. Everything that we ever needed to know about how to effectively operate as a species has been hidden from us from people who want to maintain permanent control for their own benefit. Evil? Oh, you bet your ass. Their evil knows no bounds. But see, every time we talk about it, every time I do a show about it, every time you think about it, every time you write a blog about it, every time you tell a neighbor or a friend about it, or buddy about it, or something, whatever, Every time you do that, you're letting the genie out of the bottle more and more and more. You see, because it's once you tell one person, it spreads. It's going out into the collective consciousness. This broadcast is going out into the collective consciousness right now. Why? Because we've opened it up. We've discussed it. We've brought it to the light. What has been kept in the dark, we've now brought to the light. And once 2 people know about it, 4 people know about it, it spreads. As long as you keep talking about it and you keep it in the conversation. So for now, that's a good place to start, isn't it? Keep it in the conversation. Don't forget, and don't treat it like a side issue, that what these people, the elite, the highest levels, who have created the military-industrial complex, the medical-industrial complex, religion, war, multinational corporations, money, entertainment industry, Hollywood, all of this stuff, media, television. At the highest levels, they have created those things to make sure you never find out that they, the people that create all of those mechanisms, see, that's what Alex Jones wants you to do. He wants you to get hung up on the mechanisms and not go for the real beast. That entity up there controlling all of the banks and blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. They want you focusing down here. In fact, that's why I'm going to be done with this CMP stuff after I'm done with this, because the reason I've kept on with the CMP stuff and the Secret Right 2 is this. They were what bridges the gap. The info about the CMP is what bridges the gap, in my mind, to the next level of information that people should be getting ready for. You understand, like what we talked about with the Gods of Eden? Once you find out these CMP guys are, a lot of them are bloodline, you find out about, all of their connection to the Jesuits and the priest class and how that connects with the custodial societies and the ones that seeded mankind with all of these things. See, then that's sort of the segue. And then you see why the Truth Movement and Alex Jones have been keeping you from finding that out. So to me, it's been that the secret right information, the CMP information is what is going to allow me, as a researcher and as a radio show host and a filmmaker, to be able to bridge that gap for people. So I can say, okay, look, you watched Secret Right 1, you've watched the Secret Right 2. Now, watch it a few times. And now that you can do some research on your own, now you understand this. Now you see where I'm going with this. Now you start to see where the real control is and where the real power structure is. Now we're going to move you to the next level and show you how far back this really goes. And all the proof and evidence, as we've been talking about the past few months here with William Brevely's Gods of Eden, now reading the Lost Book of Enki, all this stuff. Then we'll be able to say, okay, here's the next level, and that will enable people to be able to start asking the questions such as, we know you've hidden this information from us. We know you know what it is, and we want it back because it's ours, and that's our birthright. Period. End of story. So that really brings me up to date on my mission, what I'm planning on doing, where I'm coming from on all this. Sometimes, I need to bring people up to date, but that's, to me, that's it. I mean, that right there is why I'll never stop. And that's why I've been, it's taken me so long to get the Secret Right Volume 2 out, is because it's more than just Secret Right 2. This is something that's really going to be impactful towards trying to bring people to a new level of understanding and knowledge of really how deep this information really goes. That's what I'm trying to do. Let's take a break, come back. We'll get into some news for you here tonight, and we'll continue reading from the Lost Book of Enki tonight as well. Not a lot of news, but we are going to do some. Back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight. We're going to get into some news here in this segment of the broadcast. Glad you could be with us here tonight. We're going to continue reading from the Lost Book of Enki tonight as well. And you'll notice as I'm reading this, because it's kind of weird to read, uncomfortable to read. So I can read a sentence and glean what they're trying to say. So oftentimes that's what I'm doing. I'm sort of giving you my own translation, I suppose. But I'll also read what it says and then sort of, give you the short and quick so we can kind of get a better understanding of this, I think. If I just read it and don't try to, interpret what it means, then what good is reading it on air? The way I see it. So there you go. My website, again, where this broadcast originates from, is www.theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. And we have the chip and band, the donate button there. And it goes until we have to get the bills paid on the 1st. So the chip and banner there is what we need for the month to pay the bills. And we have the donate button there if you'd like to donate towards my goals of being able to do more with the broadcast and get a new computer to make films with. My computer now, I've noticed, is just, I'm trying to encode high def video with it, and it doesn't even want to have it. Regular definition stuff is fine, but yeah, it's going on its 4th year, so it's kind of getting low. But anyway, the donate button's there for that if you want to help us out, larger amounts, or if anybody wants to come forward and, be a donor, be a sort of someone that can, pledge larger amounts of money so we can buy more equipment and make better films and try to get this message out to a larger amount of people, as I talked about in the last segment. That's where you can do that at. Let's get into the news right now on the show. Let's see here what we have. Almost a full week now. I guess it's last Monday. So yeah, it's been over a week now. Finally, after we first told you about this last Monday on the show, first broke the story here, really. Thank you very much. Now the mainstream media finally decides today to tell us about the Fort Calhoun nuclear power plant in Nebraska we told you about last Monday. But, of course, they're telling us, oh, well, it narrowly averted it, blah, 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 blah. And so now this is being put in. And now Russia Today is all over this. The KGB News Front, they're all over it. And, they're sitting there, trying to use it to further their fear-mongering stuff. It's I don't want to be lumped in with that. It's funny how that works. Sickens me, though. I got to say it does sicken me. And to be, and I've seen this happen before with stuff, but it's kind of different when, because as I told you last Monday when I first told you can go back and listen to last Monday's broadcast when I was first telling you about this Fort Calhoun nuclear power plant thing in Nebraska. Because I got bombarded with emails. People were just freaking out because people were like, we haven't heard this, my buddy Mike, his wife, Tracy, you've seen her in the chat room, had family up there and stuff. They, 10 minutes from the thing. They didn't hear, they didn't know anything about it. They didn't even know the water was all the way up to it. And they were thanking me. She was thanking me. Thank you for letting me let my family know about this. A lot of people didn't know. And, you didn't have Alex Jones and Russia Today and any of these, phony alternative news outlets talking about this stuff. And here they come a week later, a week and a day late. And what are they coming out with? Oh, it's going to be a new Fukushima. Oh, it's, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, you needed to be concerned about it. Yeah, if you lived around there, you probably need to get out of there. But I didn't tell you to go run for the iodine tabs. Although it's never a bad idea to pop one of those a month or something. Just cause anyway, especially in this day and age, better to be safe than sorry. But, you got them. But no, anyway, my point is that, now they're going to use this to further their fear mongering ideologies. It just sickens me when, we try to get real actual news out to people that concerns people's lives. And these sensationalists and alternative media want to use it to further their, New World Order is coming to your doorstep tomorrow, lock and load mentality. And that's what they're doing. So, Raw Story, I think Associated Press, I saw several other mainstream news outlets. And now, 8 days later, they're now fucking reporting it. We told you here last Monday. Thank you very much. But insane weather going on right now. Here in Texas, where I live, I know other places we're having more tornadoes everywhere. lightning storms last night and tonight like I've never seen. I've seen weather stuff, and I don't think this stuff is just a result of weather modification stuff. Like this is a whole other level of stuff, folks. I think this is planetary changes. This is violent weather we're seeing. I mean, I saw more ambulances and fire trucks going down my street tonight, because they said on the news, we were watching the news earlier, and they said there was 2,000 to 3,000 lightning strikes per second, or per minute rather. Per minute, 2,000 to 3,000 lightning strikes per minute in the Dallas Metroplex area where I live. And when I was outside smoking, I saw that. Unbelievable, the lightning stuff that we've seen. And I think this is all a by design plan. I think that's what they're doing. I think they're, it could be that this is natural planetary stuff that's happening, but it could be also that they're aggravating it with scalar weapon stuff. That's what I think they're doing. I think they're, as we've talked about many times here on the show, they're quite aware of these sun cycles. They're aware of these different planetary changes. And I think you'd be a fool to think that with their knowledge of that, they wouldn't use this technology, which they can also use to mitigate weather patterns. You'd be a fool to think they wouldn't use it to amplify it. I think that's what's going on. I think there's natural occurring stuff that's happening with the planet, but because of their knowledge and awareness of it, they use their scalar weapons and HARP and all the rest of this stuff and amplify it, make it worse than it is. And I think that's what they're doing with these weather patterns. I mean, they're getting themselves a good death toll with all these tornadoes and stuff. I mean, there's probably been more people that have died in tornadoes in America this year than have died in, Iraq this year. No kidding. I mean, it's been insane. So when you have that many people dying from weather events and whatnot, that's good. That's good for the power structure. That's as good as a war. Hell, we don't even have to wage a war anymore. We just unleash weather weapons everywhere, call it an act of God, call it an act of nature, and kill as many people as we want and claim it's global warming, and then charge people more for fuel and charge people more to live and enslave them further. Sounds like a plan to me. Well, guess what? That's what they're doing. That's their plan. That's what they've enacted. And I think that's what they're doing. They're going to fill up all these rivers, make the Mississippi River and all these other different rivers in the United States reach their breaking point where you have dams break which flood towns and flood cities and kill I don't know how many people. I think that they're already now a week later finally evacuating people out of Nebraska. I thought I had a story here. Minot residents evacuated as historic rise in Souris River approaches. North Dakota. So the Illinois River is not the Illinois River. The Missouri River is flooding. I mean, I think this is the plan. Then you flood out towns. You cause all sorts of devastation. Cause nuclear plants to go melt down. Blame it all on Mother Nature. Hey, that's great. FEMA gets to come in, set up martial law. It's wonderful. This is the plan. This is what they're doing. This is what they're going forward with. They're now evacuating there out of people in South Dakota as well. This is just going to get crazy. And listen to this. Scientists discovered new California quake fault that could burst dam and drown thousands. So they're now saying they found a new fault line in California that could do exactly what I was just saying. So they cause all of these rivers to fill up, dams to break, lands to be flooded, all kinds of stuff. And then let's say, big earthquake happens along the New Madrid fault line, right in that area exactly where those rivers run through. And then what happens if there's a big earthquake in California? Well, according to this article here from the Daily Mail, a new earthquake-producing fault has been discovered in California to the surprise of scientists who thought that they had found all the state's seismic danger spots. Remember last week we were talking about Polaris? Remember that last week we had that discussion about Polaris? I think it was Friday on the show. One of our listeners had sent an email about the different symbology and stuff, Polaris. Well, the name of this new fault line they've discovered is called the Polaris line. We just talked about, how coincidental is that? We just talked about Polaris and what that means last week. Now, the Polaris line is the name of, my goodness, these guys just don't quit. They just like to throw this stuff, put it in everything, don't they? The Polaris line, oh God, at only 22 miles long, is a dwarf compared to the San Andreas Fault, which stretches 800 miles and has triggered some of the world's biggest tremors. But worryingly, it could be powerful enough to cause an earthquake measuring 6.9 on the Richter scale and flood a valley by smashing a dam. It was a 7.0 magnitude quake that devastated Haiti last year, killing 22,000 people to date. If it broke, the Martis Creek Dam has the potential to deluge the homes of 16,000 people in nearby Truckee, and floodwaters could travel 35 miles to Reno, Nevada, where 220,000 people live. Experts already knew of 2 faults near the structure, which is one of 10 American dams classified as having an urgent and compelling safety concern. But this latest discovery has dumbfounded geologists from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who found the fault using laser imaging technology known as LIDAR. Used from an airplane, the system emits laser pulses down towards the ground to get high-resolution topology maps. Once the layer of heavy pine trees was stripped from the maps, the experts found evidence of the fault sitting just 200 yards from the dam. We weren't expecting it at all, said Lewis Hunter, a senior geologist for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Sacramento District. But by studying the nearby glacial terraces, his team established that the most recent earthquake that caused by the Polaris Fault, named after a nearby former mining town, was 15,000 years ago. That is well within the 35,000 years that is used to define an active fault. We feel very confident it is within our range for being active. So not only did they discover this new fault line, they're saying could very well be active. That's nutty. This is says the fault could produce an earthquake with up to a 6.5 or 6.9 magnitude, according to the study published in the June issue of the Bulletin of Seismological Data of America. Because the fault connects to others in the area, the magnitude could be even higher if they ruptured at the same time. Due to the risk of a rupture from another fault that runs directly under the Martis Creek Dam, the Corps of Engineers, which owns the structure, already keep water levels as low as possible. But since the Polaris sits between the dam and the spillway, if the levels were higher than usual, a very big earthquake could potentially flood parts of gambling Mecca Reno. Although the find is a surprise, scientists believe there may be hundreds of unknown faults around the world. Right, but they've got this technology where they're now identifying all these faults around the world, right? Fault lines they can never identify before. I don't know about you, but that doesn't make me feel very comforted. They're looking for them and telling us, oh, yeah, well, we're going to identify them so, we can tell if something bad might happen there. Well, even if they identify them, do people move out of the area? No. Are 220,000 people going to move out of Reno, Nevada because they might get flooded? No. So gaining that information where a fault line is really does no good, does it? Because even with that knowledge, the people that live there are not going to move, and people are still going to die. Because an earthquake happens, boom, that's it. There's no warning. They sure as fuck aren't going to give us a warning. So the knowledge of all these fault lines that they didn't know about before gives them a whole lot more play and a lot more weaponry in their arsenal. Because then they can, use HARP or another scalar weapon or something like that to beam down on this Polaris fault line, cause the dam to break, now that they've located. See, before, if a natural disaster happened, well, it just happened. But now that they've identified it, they can use those weapons to cause these things. So now that they can identify where all the fault lines in the world are, that means that they can exploit fault lines around the world that previously may be, dormant or may be something that may not be a threat. Unbelievable. I mean, this is the kind of stuff, when you read these articles that you get sometimes. Unbelievable stuff. Think for a second they won't do it. Think for a second that they won't. Oh, man, did you guys hear about this? We've talked about iridium in the past. which many people believe that the elite are trying to really get their hands on in large numbers right now, because supposedly they can make some sort of alternative fuel source out of it that, one chunk of the stuff can produce just a crazy amount of fuel. Kind of like the unobtainium that they had in Avatar. By the way, that movie, The Core, they talk about unobtainium in that movie as well. You know, the movie where they're drilling down to the core to reset Earth's core and all that shit. Yeah. Kind of funny that would be in a movie twice. Two different movies, don't you think? I guess they thought we wouldn't notice that. But iridium, they're saying that under Haiti, there's under Port-au-Prince in Haiti, which is one of the reasons why they pulled that thing off, 222,000 dead, is because now they don't have a government, since, the earthquake conveniently struck right dead center in front of where their government is, killed everybody there, conveniently. Under Port-au-Prince, Haiti, there's supposedly more gold than Fort Knox, more oil than Saudi Arabia, and more oil than Venezuela, and more iridium than anywhere else on Earth. Now, iridium comes from one place and one place only, and that is meteorites, asteroids that have fallen to Earth. So this was created by somebody in the elite, because, who can afford $100,000 for a shaving razor? Yeah, you heard me right. If your handsome mug is insured for several $1 million, then perhaps you can justify buying a Zafiro iridium razor, $100,000. This insanely expensive razor is also insanely advanced, featuring a handle made from pure iridium, which is mainly derived from meteorites. Particle-shaped, sharpened solid white sapphire blades. Let me say that again. Particle-sharpened solid white sapphire blades with edges that are no less than 100 atoms across. 100 atoms across? That's pretty thin. Roughly 5,000 times thinner than a human hair, and pure platinum screws to hold the thing together. Limited to 99 razors, although we suspect they may have trouble finding that many buyers. An iridium razor. I'll stick to my 10 for $3 orange plastic Vicks I've used since I was fucking 16. Thanks. Unbelievable. That's like an inside joke. Oh, yeah, well, Yes, Buffy, let's get ourselves an iridium razor so we can laugh at all the peasants who don't have one while we kill them and make them mine the iridium for us. Oh, it's so clever. Fags. Let's see what else we got here tonight. Researchers at the University of Massachusetts Medical School have discovered that a protein expressed in the human retina has the capability of sensing magnetic fields when placed into fruit flies. It poses the question, maybe we should rethink about this sixth sense. Stephen Reppert of the University of Massachusetts Medical School told Live Science it is thought to be very important for how animals migrate. Perhaps this protein is also fulfilling an important function for sensing magnetic fields in humans. Yeah, well, this is what they've been partially manipulating with HAARP and electromagnetic waves and all of this. That's what electromagnetic waves. Your retinas respond to that. The research published in Nature Communications this week found that fruit flies could sense and respond to an electric coil generated magnetic field when their native retina protein was replaced with a human retina protein. Many bird seas and sea turtles use the Earth's magnetic field to navigate during long migrations, but it was assumed that humans did not have a similar magnetic sense. But now they're saying that we do, so what does that mean? That's highly interesting, isn't it? I mean, is it something that we have? Well, this is what I think. I think it's something that we have that's just innately a part of our biological makeup that we don't have any use for on this planet. That's what I think. I think there's probably a lot of things like that about humankind. I think, why do we have hair? That's a big question. Why do we have hair? I think there's a lot of things like that. Probably wherever our ancestors come, you had a need for such things, but here they just don't have any purpose, so we can't explain. So we just say, oh, we don't know what that is, whatever, Let's see what else we have here. A woman was arrested for videotaping police from her front yard in Rochester, New York. The woman, who was unidentified at this point, was recording a traffic stop where police had a man handcuffed on May 12th. The video was uploaded to Blip TV today. The cops noticed her recording and started hassling her with absurd notions. I don't feel safe with you standing behind me, so I'm going to ask you to go inside of your house, the cop said. You seem very anti-police. Due to what you said to me before, you started taping me. It's not clear what she had said before she started recording, but if she said anything threatening, they would have arrested her at that moment. She ended up getting handcuffed and taken away after she refused to walk into her house, even though she was clearly on her own property. A friend or relative ended up taking the camera, and we see her being led away. Neighbors who witnessed the interaction confirmed she was doing nothing wrong. Meanwhile, the man they originally had handcuffed was released. That's funny. So we stopped this guy in front of your house. We start arresting him. You go outside and videotape it. When you won't go out, when the pig cop won't tell you to go back inside, they arrest you and let this other cocksucker go. Boy, I love America, don't you? Oh, my God. You got to love it. America the beautiful. Oh, glory be with Pastor Hay. Oh, I love America. This is exactly just like the place the Jews used to be in. Yes. America. America, the land of the serpent. I got to tell you, I love America. Only in America could Hagee eat babies and stand on the red carpet, preach from the pulpit, which, by the way, is a sign of my bloodline. You dig? What a cocksucker. Go on, hey, you don't have time for your ass tonight. Unbelievable. You guys notice how Rick Perry is really in the news, being this guy that's, going up against the United States government and doing things that they don't want him to do. You guys notice that, really putting that out in the media? He's doing all this stuff that, oh, well, he's not going to allow the incandescent light bulbs to be banned. Oh, that's going against what they want. He's, blah, 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 all this other stuff. A lot of people think they're gearing him up for a presidential run. Could be true. He was at Bilderberg in 2007. That's a pretty telltale sign. Researchers at Daresbury Science Park in Britain have offered a glimpse into what might be the future of nuclear energy by showcasing a scaled-down particle accelerator. One that, when combined with others just like it, could produce nuclear energy based on thorium rather than uranium. Dubbed the electron machine with many applications, the EMMA accelerator, a much smaller version of the kind used in physics research, such as the Large Hadron Collider, could be used to provide an accelerated beam necessary for the type of nuclear reaction used in the theoretical thorium plant. Thorium, named for the Norse god of thunder, is a silver white metal found in abundance all over the planet and is only very slightly radioactive. As such, is a member of the elements known as the actinides, which, like uranium, occasionally spin off particles which make it useful for energy production. So, now they're saying they have miniature particle accelerators that produce energy, and yet it's all still nuclear or based on some radioactive compound when, we've got free energy stuff all over the place sitting on the shelf. It's just completely ridiculous. There's no need for it. Let's see what else we have here. I think we're getting close to being done with the news here today. Oh, you guys hear about this? Scientists at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine claim to have determined the proper dose levels needed to create positive changes in attitudes, mood, life satisfaction, and behavior that persist for more than a year with a psychoactive substance in so-called magic mushrooms. Well, I mean, there you go. That's the best news you've heard all day, isn't it? Johns Hopkins University is now going to tell you exactly how many grams you need to eat to get off? Well, fuck. Well, wake up the dogs, kick the neighbors, do what you got to do. That's fucking breaking news. Hippies everywhere are praising Johns Hopkins University for their groundbreaking research and how many grams of shrooms you have to eat to get fucked up. Nice to see some good research for once. The findings are the latest in a series of experiments done at Johns Hopkins to investigate psilocybin, a psychedelic substance contained in certain mushrooms. The findings were published online this week in the peer-reviewed journal Psychopharmacology. In Cultures Before Ours, the spiritual guide or healer had to discern how much of what type of mushroom to use for what purposes. Because the strength of psychoactive mushrooms varies from species to species and even from specimen to specimen, said Roland Griffiths, Ph.D., a professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences at neurosciences at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine and the study's lead scientist. In our laboratory, we were working with a pure chemical psilocybin, which we can measure out precisely. We wanted to take a methodical look at how its effects change with dosage. We seem to have found levels of the substance and particular conditions for its use that give a high probability of a profound and beneficial experience, a low enough probability of a psychological struggle, and a very little risk of any actual harm. The researchers said 94% of the study's 18 participants rated their experiences with psilocybin as among the top 5 most, or as the top most spiritually significant experience of his or her life at a 14th month follow-up. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're there for. They're there to reconnect us with spirit. They're there to reconnect us. That's why those drugs are illegal, because they're there to reconnect us. That's what I'm sorry, it's not a drug. It's a fucking plant found naturally on the earth. But this plant is put there to reconnect you with spirit, to reconnect you with the spirit world, to remind you that, oh yeah, don't get too wrapped up in this material world stuff. It's all a joke. It's all just a big illusion. Have fun with it and try your best to change it so that all people after you can live in peace. Now, they certainly don't want you to know that. But that's what it does. That's what it's there to do. It's there to undo all the things that their system does to you. 84% also reported positive changes in their behaviors, changes like improved relationships with family and others, increased physical and psychological self-care, and increased devotion to spiritual practice, which were corroborated by family members and others. I feel that I can relate better in my marriage, one participant reported. There is more empathy, a greater understanding of people and understanding their difficulties, and less judgment. The participants, ages 29 to 62, were screened to include only those who were deemed psychologically and physically healthy. Each participant received 5 closely monitored 8-hour psilocybin sessions a month apart. Each session had a different dose of psilocybin, with one session using a placebo and was blind, meaning neither the participants, the monitors, nor the scientists knew how much psilocybin, if any, they had been given. And higher doses of psilocybin, nearly a third of the participants experienced great fear, had delusions, but with gentle guidance from researchers, those reactions did not outlast the psilocybin session or harm the patients. Those who received the lower doses of the psychedelic before the higher doses were the most likely to have long-lasting positive changes in attitude and behavior. The Hopkins psilocybin study clearly demonstrates that this route to the mystical is not to be walked alone. Jerome Jaffe, MD, who served as the White House drug czar, commented, but they have also demonstrated significant and long-lasting benefits. That raises the question, could psilocybin-occasioned experiences prove therapeutically useful? Right, exactly. That's all they want it for. They want to put a price tag on this stuff. You know, people go, oh, they're going to make marijuana and shrooms and all acid and all this stuff legal. No, man. Yeah, they're going to make it legal, but they're going to make it legal so they can use it as a part of their medical industrial complex and control it. That way they can have, you know, GMO psilocybin mushrooms and do away with the real thing. I mean, this is what they do. They want to take every single thing on this planet and make an intellectual property out of it. That's what they want to do. But this is a long article and goes on, and you know, psychedelics can be beneficial and they can be harmful depending on the person. You know, I wouldn't ever suggest, even though I've done tons of, I'm very open about my drug use in the past. I've done tons of psychedelics. I've done them all. I've done them all hundreds of times. But I'm not ashamed of that. And got something really good from it almost every time. A few times I didn't. And the times that I didn't, I felt like I was just poisoning my body. But they helped me work out a lot of things in my life. Stuff from my childhood, stuff from my past, stuff from my present, stuff from my future. Relationships with others, yeah. They're hugely beneficial. But, you know, it's just like a gun. You put a gun in the hand of a dumbass, you're going to have some damage done. Same thing with any, you know, mushrooms or anything like that. You put it in the hands of someone who has been, you know, just completely programmed and brainwashed and dumbed down by culture and everything else. You know, it's going to be like mixing dynamite with C4 and mixing that up and shaking it up and throwing a match on it and see what happens. That's what it's going to be like. And that's, you know, that's the other part of the thing is all these taboos and all these things that have been set up to do nothing but control our minds and keep us from ever getting too close to finding out. Because, you know, I'll tell you this. I had an experience one time when I was on mushrooms and I was staring into a mirror. And I started communicating with an entity. And it was my reflection, but it was an entity. It kind of looked like, I don't know, the best way I can describe it, kind of looked like Genghis Khan or something. You know, kind of had a helmet and kind of looked, you know, sort of Genghis Khan-y, you know, kind of Asian looking, I don't know, like a big, you know, warrior thing. And it like literally sent me a message telepathically and told me to write it down. So I got a pen and paper. I still have this in a notebook somewhere, and it said, there's a veil has been placed around the eyes of the people of the earth. The veil is designed to keep us from seeing the real truth. Money, marriage, you know, life, this, jobs, all that. All of it is a big lie. Every man must find his own truth. And, well, I think back to that now, and it just, it's unbelievable. That I look back, I'm like, oh, that was a message from somewhere, and lo and behold, I have found that to be true subsequently. That there is a veil that's been placed over our eyes. And we have to lift that veil, and every man must find his own truth. And at the time of my life, I was kind of in a lost period in my life when that happened. And I think that probably is what set me on the path to digging and researching and trying to expand my own consciousness and find answers to the questions that I had about myself and life and the universe and the earth and spirit and the soul and everything. That sort of experience, ladies and gentlemen, is what they're depriving us of. All of us. Because every man, woman, and child on this planet had an experience like that, and an overwhelming spiritual experience on that by something that they can go, you know, grow in their yard or something. We'd have a utopia within a week. That's what it is. Everything is about repression of the soul, repression of the spirit. Keeping us confined, keeping us locked down right where they want us. But again, we're breaking free of that. No more is that going to happen. As I told you in the last segment, my goal now, I've realized it as I've been making the Secret Right Volume 2, I realized it's just turned into something more than I ever dreamed that it would. Because now I realize that it's, for me, at the beginning, it was just, part 2 of the movie or whatever. But now, as I've learned more and I've researched more, it's now become sort of just the transition for me. And the transition for you and the transition for many other people out there after us, that now we can move on to this next level. And that's where I want to move next. And I hope that you'll continue to support my work as I continue to go deeper and try to do more and gain more listenership and everything else. We need whatever support we can get right now. We need, an influx of cash, somebody to come in and donate and help us out to take this to the next level. Because it's time to, man. It really is. Man, oh man. I'm glad that after all I've been through the past month or so with death of the family members and stuff, that I sort of had an epiphany and a re-evaluation of my role and what I'm doing with this, and I'm fired up again, man. That's the biggest thing right now is I'm back in the game, I'm back in the fire. I'm ready to do this full bore. I just can't do it with $10 in the bank or whatever. That's the whole thing. But I do feel like I'm back to, really have a redefined idea of what I want to do with this stuff and where it needs to go and what all of our goal is. We have to make people realize this veil. We have to lift the veil. We have to show them that there's a whole other world that exists beyond what we see in our 5 sense material everyday reality. And everything's designed to keep us from seeing that and to believe that that's hogwash and doesn't exist. Pure insanity is what their whole system is based on. There's just no other way to say it. Well, we're going to take a break, come back, and read a little bit from the Lost Book of Enki tonight, and I'll read some of these anagrams we got sent into the show as well. Stay with us, folks. This is The Global Reality. Got one more segment coming up around the corner, then we'll wrap the show up after another quick... Oh, yeah, back here with you on The Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. Final segment of the show here tonight. Extended innings, extended hours here tonight, and going a little later than usual. Start a little later than usual tonight, and sorry about that for some of you out there. And but for the rest of you, thanks for staying up late with us, and glad you decided to be here with us live tonight, and stay a little extra late and make some extra coffee, and I'll try to make it worth your while here with some of the info we get into in this segment. And I think it's really good stuff where we left off last night. We were reading about, I think it was Alalu, I think was this guy who was the usurper, who came in, and he was the guy that decided, they needed to go to Earth, and they sent these ships, and then the ships didn't make it, and they got blown up. You keep referring to the hammered bracelet, which I'm assuming is the asteroid belt from what it says. So that's where we'll pick up off tonight. But we have one of our Alice, one of our listeners out there, sent us these anagrams. She says that this book is coded to the max. She said an anagram for the Lost Book of Enki is Enki's book to the fool. So that's interesting. Enki's book to the fool. I take that like as the fool in the sense of the tarot, It's very interesting. And so I think she's going to be sending more of those. And I said last night, she said that this book is worded really weird for a reason. I'd read that sentence last night that said the protective shit lid has been diminished. It really said that. The protective shit lid has been diminished. And she says that an anagram for that is discernible, hidden, RH positive, thetic theism. I mean, these anagrams just seem like too weird to be a coincidence. You know what I mean? Especially the thing about hidden Rh positive, because they talk about, Rh positive blood being the bloodlines and the Anunnaki and all that. I find it highly irregular that would be a coincidence that the term hidden Rh positive, thetic, and entheism would be in the term the protective shitlid has been diminished. And she says that thetic means presented dogmatically or arbitrarily prescribed. So, that would mean that these bloodlines have been presented to us dogmatically. Well, indeed so. Isn't that why we believe that there's, the divine right to rule and why, the king and queen is allowed to exist? It's a bloodline, it's lineage. And they present that to us, as that's the way it is, and it's a dogma. It's just wild. So, it just goes to show you that, I think there is something to this. I think that's one of the biggest secrets you find is that anagrams are coded everywhere. It's in everything. That's one of their big secrets. Anyway, let's continue here tonight. Chapter 40 or page 43, where we left off last night in the Lost Book of Enki. Of rocks and boulders was it together hammered, like orphans with no mother. They banded together, surging back and forth a bygone destiny they followed. Their doings were loathsome, troubling their ways. Nibiru's probing chariots like preying lions they devoured. So something basically, devoured these spaceships. The precious gold needed for surviving, they refused to dislodge. The chariot of Alalu toward the hammered bracelet was headlong moving. The ferocious builders in close combat to boldly face. So there's definitely a fight going on here. Alalu, the firestones in his chariot more strongly stirred up. That which shows the way, with steady hands he directed. The ominous boulders against the chariot charged forward like an enemy in battle attacking. Toward them, Alalu shot a death-dealing missile from his spaceship. That's literally what it says. This is towards them, Alalu, a death-dealing missile from the chariot let loose. So he shot a missile out of a spaceship. Then another and another against the enemy. The terror weapons he thrust. So he's shooting nukes. This is great. How come nobody's made a sci-fi movie out of this shit yet? Somebody will now that I've said it. Make billions of dollars, and I wish I would have done it. That always happens to me. As frightened warriors, the boulders turned back, a path for Alalu granting. Like by a spell, the hammered bracelet, a doorway to the king had opened. That sounds like a Stargate. So a Stargate opened. In the dark deepness, Alalu, the heavens, he could clearly see. By the bracelet's ferocity, he was not defeated. His mission was not ended. In the distance, the sun's fiery ball was sending forth its brilliance. Welcoming rays towards Alalu, it was emitting. Before it was a red-brown planet on its orbit. The sixth in count of celestial gods it was. Alalu could but glimpse it. On its destined course from Alalu's path, it was quickly moving. Then snow-hued earth appeared. The seventh in the celestial count. So he's getting, he blows up and blows this stuff out of the way, the people that are chasing him. And then, so they're chasing him from Nibiru. He shoots these nuclear weapons, blows them up, and starts making his way towards Earth, presumably to come down and seed us with culture and information and religion and to call himself a god and everything else. Toward the planet, Alalu set his course to a destination most inviting. Smaller than Nibiru was its alluring ball. Weaker than Nibiru was its attracting net, its gravity. Its atmosphere was thinner than Nibiru's, and its clouds were within it swirling. Below, the earth to three regions was divided, snow white at the top and on the bottom, blue and brown in between. Deftly, Alalu spread the chariot's arresting wings around the earth's ball to circle. Again, let's keep in mind this stuff came out of Sumerian clay tablets. You think these people could have just made up perfect descriptions of the earth? It just boggles my mind to people that say that this is hogwash or whatever. I mean, that's 5,000-year-old text. How can you explain that? In the middle region, dry lands and watery oceans he could discern. The beam that penetrates downward he directed Earth's innards to detect. I have attained it, he ecstatically shouted. So right there he tells you he had a beam that he could shoot down to Earth and determine how much gold was there. That's high technology. I have attained it, ecstatically, he shouted. Gold, much gold. The beam has indicated it was beneath the dark-hued region. In the waters it was, too. With pounding heart, Alalu's a decision was contemplating. Shall he on the dry land his chariot bring down, penchance to crash and die? Perchance to crash and die. So, will he land on land, or shall he land on the water and risk sinking? Which way shall he survive? Will he the treasured gold discover? In the eagle's seat, Alalu was not stirring. To fate's hands the chariot he entrusted. Fully caught in Earth's attracting net, the chariot was moving faster. Its spread wings became aglow. Its spread wings became aglow? Was this motherfucker landing in a Klingon bird of prey or something? Jesus Christ. Is that where the fuck they got that at, too? Wouldn't surprise me. Von Braun's Nazis were in on the science advisory board on the original Star Trek series. Fact. It spread its wings. Its spread wings became aglow. He's landing in a bird ship. A fucking Klingon bird of prey. Jesus Christ, the Anunnaki are Klingons. Great. No wonder they're dumbasses. Klingons are fucking dumb. Earth's atmosphere was like an oven. Well, yeah, you come in through the atmosphere, you start heating up, motherfucker. Guess you weren't smart enough to know that in advance, were you? I guess you didn't have a nifty little laser beam you could shoot down here to figure that out, now did you? Then the chariot shook, emitting a mortifying thunder. With abruptness, the chariot crashed, and with a suddenness altogether stopping. Senseless from the shaking and stunned by the crash, Alalu wasn't moving. Then he opened his eyes and knew he was among the living. At the planet of gold, he victoriously arrived. Now, this is the account of the earth and its gold. It is an account of the beginning and how the celestial gods were created. In the beginning, when in the above, the gods in the heavens had not been called into being. And in the below, Ki, the firm ground, had not yet been named. Alone in the void there existed Apsu, the primordial begetter. In the heights of the above, the celestial gods had not yet been created. So, see, that's exactly. Celestial gods, the ones that were the hierarchy that was the bloodlines on Nibiru that we talked about earlier, that had that genealogical record. Those are the ones that became the gods. Above and below, the gods had not yet been formed. Destinies were not yet decreed. No reed had yet been formed. No marshland had appeared. Alone did Apsu reign in the void. Then by his winds the primordial waters were mingled. A divine and artful spell Apsu upon the waters cast. On the void's deep he poured a sound sleep. Tiamat, the mother of all, as a spouse for himself he fashioned. A celestial mother, a watery beauty he was indeed. A watery beauty she was indeed. Now, Tiamat is said to be the mother of all, which is supposed to be this other planet that was once in our solar system that was a water planet that looked like a second sun from Earth because of the way the sun reflected off the water on the planet. Beside him, Apsu, little Mumu, then brought forth, as his messenger he him appointed, a gift for Tiamat to present. A gift resplendent to his spouse Apsu granted, a shining metal, the everlasting gold for her alone to possess. Then it was that the two, their waters mingled, their waters mingled, yeah. You know what it says when their waters mingled, right? Like Jesus turning the water into wine. And how Jesus turned the water into wine. He shot a fat load right in some girl's mouth. Divine children, yeah, really. That's what the water was. The magic water he told him to drink for. Yeah, man, it was semen. A bunch of semen worshipers. Male and female were the celestials created, Lamu and Lahamu by the names they were called. In the below did Apsu and Tiamat make them an abode. Before then, they had grown in age and in stature, and the waters above Anshar and Kishar were formed. Surpassing their brothers in size they were. As a celestial couple, the two were fashioned. So hear what they're saying here. They're talking about forming these celestial. They're talking about. He's talking about forming moons and forming things like of that nature and planets. In order for life to be able to flourish on Earth, because if we didn't have a moon, we wouldn't, we wouldn't have any sort of tides or any ability for life to be created. A son, On, in the distant heavens was their heir. Then Antu to be his spouse, and as On's equal was brought forth, as a boundary of the upper waters, their abode was made. Thus were three heavenly couples, below and above, in the depths created by names that were called the family of Apsu with Mumu and Tiamat they formed. At that time, Nibiru had not yet been seen. The earth was not yet called into being. Mingled were the heavenly waters by a hammered bracelet. They were not yet separated. At that time, circuits were not yet fully fashioned. Oh, so that even, okay, well, that's interesting. That tells you right there. They're talking about forming planetary systems. I've talked about this and speculated about this for a long time. That I believe that at some point during one of these cataclysms, the earth was re-terraformed. I think that's what these guys have been doing. They've been going around terraforming planets forever. And that's kind of what it's talking about here. I mean, that is what it's talking about here. I mean, it says at that time the circuits were not yet fully fashioned. Well, the circuits, we know, they're referring to orbits. So that's an admission that they had the technology to be able to create orbits for particular planets. I mean, that's insane. Their celestial kinfolk banded together. Erratic were their ways. Their ways to Apsu were very loathsome. Tiamat, getting no rest, was aggravated and raged. A throng to march by her side she formed. A growing, raging host against the sons of Apsu she brought forth. With 11 of this kind she brought forth. She made the firstborn Kingu, chief among them. When the celestial gods of this herd did hear, for counsel they rallied. Kingu she has elevated to rank as on command to him she gave. A tablet of destiny to his chest she has attached, his own orbit to acquire. To battle against the gods of her offspring, Kingu she instructed. Who will stand up to Tiamat, the gods asked each other. Now this is crazy, because this is turning into this like sort of mythological story of these planets, in our solar system battling each other. That's just bizarre. So who shall stand up to Tiamat? So let me guess. Somebody's going to defeat Tiamat. And then when they defeat Tiamat, that's what's going to cause the asteroid belt to form. It's going to cause all the water to rush to Earth. And then that's what they're going to refer to in the book of Genesis as the waters above the firmament, right? Let me guess. Watch, whatever happens, Tiamat's going to be defeated. And that's what that's symbolic of. None in their orbit stepped forward. None a weapon for battle would bear. At that time, in the heart of the deep, a god was engendered. In a chamber of fates, a place of destinies, he was born. By an artful creator was he fashioned. The son of his own son he was. From the deep where he was engendered, the god from his family in a rushing departed. A gift to his creator, the seed of life, he carried with him. To the void he set his course, a new destiny he was seeking. The first to glimpse the wandering celestial was the ever-watchful Antu. Alluring with his figure a radiance he was beaming. Lordly was his gait, G-A-I-T gait. Exceedingly great was his course. Of all the gods he was the loftiest, surpassing their orbit he was. The first to glimpse him was Antu. Her breast by child never sucked. Her breast by child never sucked. I bet there's an anagram in there, Alice. Come be my son, she called to him. Let me your mother become. She cast her net and made him welcome, and made his course for the purpose suited. Oh, whoa, nice orbit, pulling in something in the orbit there. Her words filled the newcomer's heart with pride. The one who would nurse him made him haughty. His head to double size grew larger. 4 members at his side he sprouted, and his lips, he moved his lips in acceptance. A godly fire from them blazed forth. See, this is talking about, probably Jupiter forming. Toward Antu his course he turned, his face to An soon to show. When An saw him, my son, with exultation he shouted. To leadership you shall be consigned. A host by your side will be your servants. Let Nibiru be your name, as crossing forever known. He bowed to Nibiru, turning his face at Nibiru's passage. He spread his net for Nibiru. 4 servants he brought forth. So this is saying that the gods themselves are the planets, and the planets themselves are the gods. As in, they are conscious, and in each of the planets are actually living entities that are conscious. That would have unbelievable implications for our planet and all planets, wouldn't it? But that's what they're saying here. His host by his side to be the south wind, the north wind, the fast wind, and the west wind. With joyful heart on to Anshar, his forebearer, the arrival of Nibiru announced. Anshar, upon hearing this, Gaga, who was by his side as an emissary, sent forth words of wisdom to An to deliver, to task Nibiru to assign. He charged Gaga, which I believe is Venus, to give voice to what was in his heart. To An thus say, Tiamat, she who bore us now detests us. She has set up a warring host. She is furious with rage. Against the gods, her children, 11 warriors, march by her side. Kingu, among them, she elevated. A destiny to his chest she attached without right. No god among us against her venom can stand up. Her host in all of us has established fear. Let Nibiru become our avenger. Let him vanquish Tiamat. Let him save our lives. For him to decree a fate, let him go forth and face our mighty foe. To An, Gaga departed. He bowed before him. The words of Anshar he repeated. On to Nibiru's forebearers, words repeated. Gaga's message to him he revealed. To the words Nibiru with wonder listened. Of the mother who would her children devour, with fascination he heard. His heart, without saying, to set out against Tiamat, he had already prompted. He opened his mouth to An, and Gaga said, if indeed I am to vanquish Tiamat, to save your lives, then convene the gods to assembly and proclaim my destiny to be supreme. Let all the gods agree in council to make me the leader and bow to my command. When Lamu and Lahamu heard this, they cried out with anguish. Strange was the demand, its meaning cannot be fathomed. Thus they said, the gods who decree the fates with each other consulted. To make Nibiru their avenger, they all agreed. To him an exalted fate decreed. From this day on, unchallengeable shall be your commandments. To him they said, no one among us gods shall transgress your bounds. And we're about to pick up, it's about to get into the celestial battle, so I'm going to read this little bit and stop before it gets to the celestial battle. Go, Nibiru, be our avenger. They fashioned for him a princely circuit towards Tiamat, a orbit. They gave Nibiru blessings. They gave Nibiru awesome weapons. Anshar, 3 more winds of Nibiru brought forth, the evil wind, the whirlwind, and the matchless wind. Kishar, with a blazing flame, filled his body, a net to enfold Tiamat there within. Thus, ready for battle, Nibiru toward Tiamat directly set his course. So this is talking about this, the battle of the gods, and the gods being planets, and and what led to that. So we know, as we already know, that Tiamat is going to be destroyed. That becomes the asteroid belt. The water comes rushing down to Earth, covering much of the land on Earth with water. It was already covered with a great deal of water, but that's where the rest of it came in. And that would lead us to the next timeline of them starting to use genetic manipulation and start to use mankind as a slave race. This is fascinating stuff. It's one thing to, already have an idea of this stuff being there, but man, oh man, it's totally different when you really start to look at it in this way. And I'm glad we're reading this, and I'm glad we're starting to get some information on some of these, anagrams and stuff too. Wild stuff there. Well, that's going to do it for us for tonight, folks. I want to thank everybody for staying up late with us and tuning into the broadcast. Again, please support our work. It's been kind of slack for us over a couple of weeks. We only have another couple of weeks on the chipping banner left, and we got to meet our goal. So please help us out if you can, folks. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. My name's Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We will see you tomorrow for the broadcast. You guys have a great night. Take care.